Good afternoon. It is Saturday afternoon, this cold winter day. It's 4 o'clock. It must be time for the senior moment. This is Connie Clark with Home Helpers, and today I have three fantastic ladies here from the Idaho Commission for the Blind and Visually Impaired. I have Mary Johnson, Michelle Grandstadt, and Sherry Maxwell with me. And each one of them has a different program or service or function with the Idaho Commission for the Blind. So I thought we'd chat with each one of them and find out what sort of thing they do, what's offered. I've talked to them before and found out some really interesting information. So I thought it'd be really neat to have them come and sit and talk at length about their programs and what they are. So Sherry, how about we start with you? What is it that you do with the Idaho Commission for the Blind?
Well, first of all, I want to thank you very much for allowing us to come give you a preview of what we do at the agency. We are a state agency. We are separate from the Department of Health and Welfare or Department of Labor. We're under the auspice of the governor. So we have a board of directors appointed by the governor, and they appoint our administrator down in Boise. Our office is one of 5 regional offices in the state. We serve North Idaho. The population that I serve is the working age population. And I should back that up. I do start with age 15 and work with the high schools for students that are visually impaired or blind, and I follow them right through high school, ensuring that they, their IEP includes services from the blind, and the IEP is the individual education plan, which all schools provide to students with disabilities. So we add to that plan our services. Some of those services for students in high school would be possible accommodations at home for their computer. Our independent living instructor would possibly teach mobility training using a cane or maybe Braille. And then we have a summer work program for students age 15 to 21, which is a marvelous program because it prepares them for employment. So what they do is they set aside 6 weeks in the summer and go down to Boise, and they live in the dorms with a group of other visually impaired students, and they go to work. They're paid for their hourly employment, and the beauty of that is at 15 years old they might think they want to be a veterinarian, and they go down and work in a veterinarian shop and come back the next year and say, nope, I want to be a gardener. So it's ever changing for them. By the time they're 18 years old and ready to transition out of high school, we will formulate a rehab plan that will either allow them training at some vocational training or possibly college if they want to go on to college. We always encourage our clients after high school that they attend the Assessment and Training Center in Boise, and that is a program that's from anywhere from 6 weeks to a year, and they live at the Commission for the Blind in Boise. It's a dormitory setting. They get up in the morning, they go to Braille, they go to home ec, computer training, mobility training, workshop. So it's a whole day curriculum that is geared specifically for independent living. Our philosophy is once somebody who is visually impaired has gone through a program such as the Assessment and Training Center, they're prepared to go into the workforce or go into school because they have all the alternative techniques to blindness, and they truly have learned some ways to be independent. Often I will have someone referred to me by a physician or by Social Security, and they may have recently lost their vision and they haven't worked for a while and they want to go back to work. And so my job is to come up with a vocational plan that will assist them in preparing for employment and then securing a position in the community for them. And all of our employment is competitive employment. We don't participate in sheltered workshop employment.
Now, is this just for young people,
No.
or is it suddenly if someone is 50 years old and suddenly becomes
Let's say
blind?
that you suddenly lost your vision
Okay.
and you wanted to stay in the the job that you're doing, and you came to me and said, Sherry, I want to stay in radio. I don't want to jeopardize my job, but I can't do my job anymore. We would send somebody in, a technology specialist, to see how we could, if we could, make the accommodations that would allow you to continue to do the same job in a different way. So often I'll have adults come in that are already employed, and they don't want to interrupt their employment, but they can't do their job any longer. So we'll intervene, and there won't have to be a break in employment. We can just work with the employer, work with the technology that's available, and try to keep them in that employment.
So you work with everyone from 15 all the way up.
Absolutely.
Now, when you talked about them going down to Boise and going through the workshops and that sort of thing, is that something the state pays for? Is that something the families have to pay
It's
for?
something
or
that
what?
we pay for that. We are not an entitlement program. However, vocational rehabilitation, we will pay for all the training that's necessary for that individual in Boise at the training center. There's no cost for that, other than if they can afford their own food and necessities down there. We ask them to do that because they are responsible for their own cooking. There is a facility down there for them to cook, but they are taught cooking skills, and so sometimes folks come in and their only means of financial resources are their Social Security. So if that's the case and they need to obligate that Social Security to maintain their living costs at home, then we'll assist with the costs down there. As far as, let's say someone comes to me and they want to go to college, and the tuition is going to be one of the expenses, as well as the computer, books. We'll do a financial needs assessment and see what do they need from us. All students need to apply for the Pell Grant at the college, financial aid, and once they get their Pell Grant and can demonstrate there is a financial need, then we'll assist with tuition and books and computers or whatever else that they need. It's very costly for blind and visually impaired accommodations for their computer. I'm thinking about an average cost for rehabilitation for a client would be between $6,000 and $10,000. Sometimes if it's just simply going back to work, and it wouldn't be that much. But if we're going to work with someone from the 9th grade right on through college, it's not unheard of to spend $20,000.
So if you have a visually challenged young person, there is help to help them to figure out how to work in the world of vision.
Absolutely, and our program is employment-based. Or the program that I have, vocational rehabilitation, the intent is employment. We have 2 other great services in the agency that Mary and Michelle speak to, but mine is strictly employment and training for employment.
And you said this is a state agency. Do other states have similar programs to this, do you know?
There's a commission for the blind, I believe, in every state.
And they have this same vocational program?
Yes. There's services for the blind in Spokane that serve that area.
And you were mentioning about computers and that sort of thing. I remember from the last conversation that we had, you talked about that there are some computer programs and different kind of assistive technologies that people can use to help them out, and you can help them find those things, right?
Yes. What we'll do is Michelle, who'll talk in a bit, who is our assistive technology and home instructor specialist, she will go to my client's home initially, and I don't want to say my client's home, but she will go to the individual that I'm serving. She'll go to their home and she'll make an assessment of what do they need. What do they need in terms of cooking skills? What do they need in terms of computer skills? And then she'll prepare an evaluation or an assessment tool that we can work off of.
So both of you can work with the same person?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, okay.
Most
Okay.
of the time we do.
It's not either or. Okay.
No,
We
we
also-
collaborate.
Okay.
We also have an adaptive technology specialist in Boise that does more in-depth training. And she comes up periodically throughout the year. And let's say I have a client that's going to need to learn how to do a program, a speech program on their computer. And they're starting pretty much from scratch. This individual will come up and maybe spend 3 or 4 days with them a couple times, well, the first time, and then she may come back 6 weeks later, depending on what the need, or Michelle will pick it up after that.
Very interesting. Because you never really think about that. You think of someone who has a visual impairment, at least I do, like my grandma or someone like that, where macular degeneration has come in. You don't really, at least I didn't, think about a young person growing up and all the challenges they would have and trying to work in the visual world.
Some of the biggest challenges that I've found over the years with the younger people, and I'm talking about after they graduate from high school, they tend to isolate. They might go over to college and go to school and then come back home and not do anything else other than that. So they're real limited on outside interests. So what we have started, and this just started last week thanks to Calypso's coffee house downtown Coeur d'Alene, have allowed us to use their meeting room. The next meeting will be on the November 18th at 1 o'clock, and it's for all visually impaired younger people. It's not geared specifically for younger people, but this is a younger people's group. So last week we had 6 participants, and these are young people that are visually impaired that don't normally go out into the community and do anything, and they want to network, and this is a way that we have figured out they can network with each other, and I think it's going to grow and be really successful. So how we plan to grow that in the future is if a young person comes in for services, I will refer them to that support group, and they can hook up with other visually impaired people and share ideas and how do you do this, or
And when you talk about visually impaired, you're not just talking about someone who is totally blind,
most
correct?
of the people I work with are visually impaired, and by that I mean the legal definition of blindness is 2200, or their peripheral vision is less than 20 degrees, and that'd be kind of like tunnel vision. So if you put your fingers together and look through your fingers, that would be considered tunnel vision or legally blind in that respect. Most of the people that I work with are not totally blind, but they are legally blind to some extent. I do have some individuals that are legally blind, but they do drive, and that is through a device called a bioptic, and they get specific training for the bioptic, and they do drive.
So it's not just as long as the person is legally blind.
We can serve
Right.
individuals that are functionally blind as well. I don't do as many of those, but an example of functional blindness would be, let's say somebody is diabetic and their blood sugar fluctuates so much that at different times of the day their vision is different. At night they can't see at all. Maybe they drive in the daytime, can't drive at night. It's snowing and the glare is so bad they can't see to drive, or their vision fluctuates during the daytime, so maybe they can read standard print part of the time, maybe they can't. Glaucoma does that as well. The vision will vary depending on the severity of the glaucoma. So those individuals that don't quite meet the legal blindness definition but have significant areas in their life that are impaired, I can work with them as well.
Fantastic. Well, I think that's great because, life is challenging anyway, and when you've got these extra challenges thrown at you, it makes it really hard to function in the world. So I really think that is really fantastic. Thank you, Sherry.
Thank you.
And I heard that you're retiring. Is that what you said?
I will be retiring next month after enjoying 25 years plus as a vocational counselor at the Commission. My replacement is a lovely woman that's moving here from Michigan, and she will do an incredible job. So I welcome her.
Well, I know that you're going to be missed. And if you're like me, I've tried that twice, and I keep coming back to work. So You may just do like I do. Um, but that's a nice segment into talking to Michelle about what she does, because you two talked about that you work together. Now, what portion of this whole business do you do?
Well, I'm the independent living instructor,
Okay.
and so I'm in charge of the independent living program for Northern Idaho. And what I do is I go in and do an assessment with people that Sherry's working with that are either in high school or are their goal is to get back to work. And I'll do an assessment to determine what kind of in-home needs they have. You know, for example, are they having difficulty setting their appliances because they can't see the settings? Are they having difficulty preparing meals or dialing the phone or identifying money? Do they need magnifiers to help them with reading and paying their bills? Are they able to get around independently in their home in the community, or do we need to do training with a white cane? You know, are they using a computer, or will they be using a computer for their work-related goal? So then I determine what level of computer skill they have and what type of adaptive software will work. So I work with Sherry. We collaborate in that sense so that I can help to make those people independent in their home and the community.
So she works on the business side and you work on the home side.
Exactly, exactly.
Okay.
And I also do some recommendations for what types of adaptive aids they'll need in the workplace so they can be successful in the workplace once Sherry finds them a job. And then I also do independent living training with clients that are anywhere from, you know, children all the way up to 102. So it's a totally separate program. It's called the Independent Living Program.
And I'm familiar with that because I'm work with the people that are nearer the 102 age.
Yeah, yeah. You know, a majority of my clients in independent living are over the age of 55. We see a lot of macular degeneration, some diabetic retinopathy, some glaucoma, cataracts, things like that. And really, the goal is to help them find magnifiers so they can read their mail again, they can write their checks, they can watch television more clearly. You know, they're able to dial the telephone and not get wrong numbers. They know what denominations they have in their wallet, so they're not afraid of being cheated when they're going to the store.
You know, I really want to talk to you about that because
Yes.
we've talked about some of those things and some of the little tricks and methods of doing things that you've told me in the past I thought was really ingenious. So I want to talk about some of those, but we need to take a break.
Okay.
So we're going to take a break and we will be right back. And we're back. Again, this is Connie Clark with Home Helpers, and I have Mary Johnson, Sherry Maxwell, and Michelle Grandstaff. All three ladies are from the Idaho Commission for the Blind and Visually Impaired, and we've been talking about the different services that they provide to our community. And the first one we talked about with Sherry had to do with the vocational rehabilitation and helping someone to be able to function in the workplace. And now we're talking to Michelle, and she works with Sherry. She kind of does the home part, and Sherry does the work part. And you were saying that there's some different things that you can do for folks to help them, like you said, identify money. Because, I mean, that would be one of the things I would think of. I mean, all dollar bills feel the same. And if you can't see, how do you know what you're giving when you buy things and that sort of thing? So tell me how do you do that?
Right. Well, the way we teach people to identify money is first you do need to use either a magnifier, or if you have no residual vision, you know, have a family member or a friend that you trust tell you what the denomination is.
So I know I have a $5 bill.
So you know you have a 5 in front of you. Now you're going to fold the $5 bill in half lengthwise.
Okay.
And then your $1 bills you keep open. Your $10 bill you fold in half widthwise. And then your 20 you fold in half twice. And so based on how they're folded in your wallet, you know what they are just by feeling them.
Oh, okay.
You don't have to be able to read them or ask anybody, hey, do I have a 20 or is this a 10 or whatever. You know just by feeling it. And I also encourage people to paper clip the denominations together and put them in order. So it's very quick and convenient when they're at the store with pulling out the denomination they need. And I also tell clients, when you're at the store and the clerk is going to give you change, ask for your change in 5s and 1s, because you can make any change with 5s and 1s. And then if you tell the clerk, I need to know what you're handing me first. Well, here's your 1s. I don't have to fold those. That's easy. Now I get my 5s, I fold them in half lengthwise, and in my wallet they go. And now I've gone from one store to the next, made change, and I still know what I have.
Wow.
So it's very, you don't feel like you're not stressed out because there's people waiting in line while you're trying to figure your denominations out.
Very interesting.
And do you have a certain way you do the coins, Michelle?
We do, yes. First, you determine the size of the coin, if it's a large coin or small, by feeling it. And the quarters and nickels are our large coins, of course. And then you take your fingernail and you run your fingernail along the edge of the coin. If you feel ridges on the coin, or if it's rough, that's a quarter for the large coins. If you feel a large coin and it's smooth, it's a nickel. On the smaller ones, the dimes are the ones that are rough and the pennies are the ones that are smooth. So you go size first and then you feel the edge and you'll know exactly what change you have.
Very interesting. And tell me some of the other tricks of things, because you were talking about that you help people to be able to exist in their home.
Yes. Well, one thing that we do quite a bit of is we put raised markings on appliances. So let's say, grandma can't see 350 on the oven anymore. So she's kind of guessing on where it's at and she's burning the cookies and whatnot. We'll put either a raised sticker or we have a liquid plastic that's called High Mark, and we can make a little raised bump on 350. We can do 2 bumps on 400, and when it dries, she can feel those raised markings to know if I line up this one bump at the top of the stove, I've got it on 350. So she's doing it by feel. We can mark the range dials. 1 bump is low, 2 is medium, 3 is high. So the more bumps, the more heat. We can mark the microwave, thermostat, washer, dryer.
I know that was a
you
big
name it.
issue. My aunt had macular degeneration, and they took the knobs off the stove because she kept burning everything. But she would put things in the microwave, but she couldn't see how long she was doing it, and that was always an issue. What was she going to burn in there this time?
Right.
Kind of thing.
Right.
So, but that would be neat to put the bumps on
Right.
there.
You
so
don't
you could
have to
feel it.
have, your family doesn't have to take the dials off the stove. We can mark it.
Well, this wasn't here. This was in a different state.
Right. No, I
You
understand.
know, if
I've
it was
seen
here,
that
I'd have done
before.
that.
Yeah, I've seen that before. And we teach people how to tell when food is cooked when you're frying. When you can't see the food, and you can't tell if your chicken breast is cooked or your hamburger is cooked, by timing how long you need to cook each type of food and by cooking it on medium heat so you don't burn the food, you don't get grease splatter, then let's say I need to cook my hamburger for 18 minutes and turn it frequently, and we'll just set a timer. And then also using a fork to check the consistency of the meat when you start cooking and how it's changing as you're cooking it. So what I do is I fry each food with the client, and we time how long it takes, and we work on the consistency of the food so they can tell those cues.
I've seen too that they have little gadgets you can put in a cup, so when you fill it with a hot liquid, you don't have to stick your finger in there, to see and burn it to see if the cup is full.
Right. We can do training with putting your finger inside the cup for cold stuff and making sure that whatever you're pouring from, the lip of that is actually hooked over the cup. Because you can have your finger in, but if you're trying to judge, by
Right.
holding it over, your depth perception is usually off and it's going to go on the counter. So we can do it without a device, but we can also do it with what's called a say when. And it's a little buzzer goes inside your cup, and whether it's hot, cold, or warm liquid, when that cup is full, it will buzz and let you know to stop pouring. So we've got some tricks for that. We also, we've got oven mitts. They go up to your elbow, and there's a special technique that I can show a client on how to trace to get in the oven to take out the cookie sheet or put it in so they don't burn themselves. We've got timers with big numbers on it for timing your food. tactile timers if you need to, feel to set the timer because you don't have enough residual vision. We teach people how to dial the telephone by using the 5 button as the reference point and then learning the location of the buttons around it. And if everybody at home will check their phones, the cell phones, calculators, remote controls, regular push button phones, they all have a 5 on them. And they're made that way so that visually impaired people can locate the 5 because it's the only one with a bump, and then they can go from there to dial their phone. Most people don't even know that there's a bump on
Don't
the
even
5.
pay attention.
Yeah, but
I mean,
if you check it, it's there.
I know there is on a keyboard because I know,
Yeah.
but some keyboards now I'm feeling one here and it doesn't have it. But
Yeah. Most phones do. Some,
Right.
for whatever reason, don't. But yeah.
so there's all kinds of different ways that you can sit down and work with them so that just because a person has lost or is losing their sight doesn't mean they can't live in their own home.
No, I mean, technically a person can live completely independent in their own home with no vision. So, and if people are thinking, wow, how in the world could I do that? Well, if we mark the appliances, if we teach you how to peel and slice and dice food safely without relying on your vision, teach you how to fry your food, how to use your oven, how to pour your liquids. There's different ways to do bill paying, online, over the phone, that kind of thing. There's also checks that have raised lines on them that you can get from the bank. If we work on how to match your clothes using different numbers of safety pins in the labels, depending on what color they are.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah.
And sock sorters.
We have sock sorters. They're a little plastic ring. You can take your socks off at night, put both socks in the ring, and they go through the washer and dryer and stay matched.
I need that. I'm always losing at least one.
Yeah. And we teach people how to do cleaning techniques. They can wash their own windows and mop their own floors and clean their own bathrooms and
Wipe their own counters.
wipe their own counters and dust. The only thing we can't do is if you don't have enough residual vision, you can't drive. If you do have enough, like Sherry spoke before, there is, a bioptic that works for some people.
Now, what is that?
A bioptic is, what they do is they put your prescription in the bottom part of a pair of glasses, and they put what looks like a small telescope in the top part of the glasses, and it's like a magnifier for distance. And what you do is if a ophthalmologist or an optometrist who specializes in low vision, if they're able to get you to 20/40 with that bioptic, you can legally drive during daytime. Because you're driving looking through the bottom part of the lens, and then when you need to see how close a car is or where what color the street light is or street name or speed limit, you just tip your head down and now you're looking through the magnifier.
Oh, okay.
So that's what a bioptic is to help with driving. But if you don't have enough vision to qualify for that, there are other forms of transportation that we make clients aware of. We do the mobility with the long white canes, the white support canes, street crossing. I've taught clients totally blind how to cross streets completely safely. Lighted intersections, residential areas, bus travel. The only thing that is stopping a person with a vision problem is themselves. If they want to be independent and they want to receive the training, we're here for them. And it's all free.
Yeah, that's the big point is it's all free.
Yes.
So I have my mom, for example, and she has macular degeneration and it's getting worse.
Mm-hmm.
Then I could call you and you could say, okay, I'll come and help her. Now, as her vision gradually gets worse, would you come back? Because there would be changes in what she's able to see and not see and do and not do?
Absolutely. Yeah. Like I said, the majority of my clients I work with are in independent living, which they don't have any work-related goals. They're just having problems in their home or the community, or they need magnifiers for reading. And I'll go in, I'll assess, what are you having difficulty with now? What would you like to work on? We'll work on those goals. Once we've completed everything, they're satisfied, we'll agree on closing the file. If they need me a month from now, a week from now, 6 months from now, all they have to do is call. I can reopen the file. We'll do another assessment. We'll work on whatever they need.
So as their vision changes and worsens, then you could come back and do an assessment and say, okay, now you're at this point. let's put the raised bumps on the microwave or whatever because you can't really see it.
Exactly. And we get that quite a bit. We get clients at all different stages. And I may have a client that just needs something for reading the newspaper and everything else is fine. And then 6 months or a year from now, the macular's changed. And now we need to do the raised bumps and we need to work on some pouring and maybe a stronger magnifier. And maybe they're having a hard time dialing the phone. And then we'll be done doing good then. And then maybe another year down the road, they're ready for a white cane or, so as many times as they need us, they're welcome to call and we'll help them.
I love talking to you guys because I learn so much, and there are so many little things that can be done, and the assistive technology that's out now is just amazing. All the different things. I talked to someone from Adapt Prosthetics, and we were talking about the bionic legs and things like that. A lot of the stuff that we are seeing nowadays are really able to keep us home
Yes.
a whole lot longer. When if we'd have looked at this 30, 40, 50 years ago, when you had trouble seeing, well, you can't live at home, and you'd be in an institution or having to live with another family member or something, and you wouldn't be able to do anything. And that's not the case today.
No, the whole goal of the program is to keep people in their home, or if they're in an apartment or wherever they're residing.
Wherever they call home.
Wherever they call home. I can work with someone that lives independently in the home all the way to someone in a care center. The point is to make them more independent and give them more quality of life wherever they're living.
So they can be in an assisted living facility or something like that and still get your services.
Absolutely.
Correct?
They
Okay.
can be in a nursing home and they can still get our services.
Okay. I want to clarify that because some people may go, oh, well, my mom's not at home. She's in a skilled nursing facility, so that wouldn't do us any good, but it still might.
It does, because even though we're not going to be doing cooking skills and maybe not mobility, they may still want a talking watch so they know what time it is. Or they
good
may still
point.
need some help with eating techniques so they can still feed themselves. Or maybe they want to be able to read in bed or see the TV that's across the room. Or they're having a hard time getting their toothpaste on their toothbrush and they don't want the staff to have to do it.
That's
So
a good
there's-
point. I hadn't even thought about that.
So there's stuff we can still do all the way through the nursing home.
Very good, very good. I need to take a break, but then we're going to keep talking, and I'm going to get to talk to Mary now because we're going to talk about the programs that she works with. So we will be right back.
I got to spend time down at the Adjustment Training Center also under sleep shades. And it was marvelous, the things I learned. And I was not there that long, only a week. But I felt that given enough time, I could learn whatever I needed to learn.
Let's talk about that because I think that's interesting because you don't really appreciate how difficult it is or what determination it takes to learn how to do those things until you've done it yourself. You know?
That's true. Yeah, and I spent some time at the training center also.
Were you as wild with your cane as I was? I
Yes.
kept listening to the side.
Oh, I was trailing everywhere. I'm like, I gotta hear everything.
I know there's a wall over here and there's a wall over there.
I will find it. I know I will. Okay, you ready?
Sure.
And we're back. This is Connie Clark with Home Helpers, and today I've got three very special ladies here from the Idaho Commission for the Blind and Visually Impaired, Sherry Maxwell, Mary Johnson, and Michelle Grandstaff. And we were just talking to Michelle about some of the occupational therapy type things that she does with folks in wherever they call home in order to be able to exist there. And that could be in their independent home all the way to a skilled nursing facility. And when you brought up the fact, well, they want to be able to put toothpaste on their toothbrush, I mean, I hadn't even thought of that, but yeah, close your eyes and try to do that and see how many times it goes in the sink or all over your hand.
Exactly.
So good point. And during the break, Mary had mentioned that she had gone down to the training center
Right.
and what'd you call them, sleep shades?
Under sleep shades for a week where I didn't have to wear them at night. But while you're there at the Adjustment and Training Center, you're using sleep shades and you're getting the same training as anyone else of the students that are there. And the time that I was there, I was doing wood shop, which scared me to death.
Yeah.
You know, there's the big buzz saw, but you know, they show you how to do
Well,
this.
you still
and
got all your fingers.
I
Okay,
still
we're
have all my
good.
fingers. And the cooking class, I actually cooked my egg and my pancake and mixed it myself. And I really felt, given enough time and with the skills that they were teaching down there, that I could do anything. It might take a little longer, especially at the beginning, but it was a wonderful, wonderful experience for me. I did cane travel. They didn't let me out of the center to work on the streets and sidewalks, but I worked in those halls, and it was just a fabulous experience. I actually worked with the, what's the Braille, Michelle?
Braille.
And thought I was doing so well. I was learning to read the little dots and figure things out. And then my instructor said, okay, now we're going to standard Braille, because I had been doing jumbo Braille, and it was great, but you know, the standard Braille is a lot smaller. And I've
Oh.
seen the people that learn to read Braille, and their fingers just fly over those pages. They're
Wow.
so good at it. They're so adept.
And you really don't appreciate how much you depend on your sight until you put the sleep shades on or something like that and try
Right.
to do something and realize how inadequate you are at doing that.
Yes.
So
Yes.
it really does give you an appreciation for it. Now, let me ask you a question. Having done that, you hear tell people saying that when you lose one of your senses, the rest of them become more alert. Did you find that to be the case?
I think for some people they do. Now, my going under the sleep shades was a quick losing your vision. I think people who gradually go blind or work with it for some time, they do learn to compensate in some other things.
Because, I mean, I know I've touched things with my hands and it doesn't really register that you've done that. But when you're depending on your fingers, you're more aware of what you're touching. Does that make sense? What I'm-
Yes, and also, Connie, we have people who have diabetic retinopathy who have loose feeling in their fingers, and so that is, you know, kind of
Oh,
the
that would make it even harder.
even more difficult for them. But you know, you can learn to still do a lot of things with the alternative techniques that they teach.
Fantastic. Well, let's talk about the programs that you administer.
I would love to. I get to work with site restoration, and of course with the others I work with the 5 northern counties. I've
And all three of you, it's the 5 northern counties.
Five
Yes.
right?
northern
Okay.
counties.
Okay.
And I've worked with very few children, but I have worked with a few children as young as 7, and most of my individuals are more middle-aged. And the site restoration is being kind of a liaison between our eye doctors and actually getting them the services that the individual needs. And we get people who come to us, and we have an eligibility process that we go through. Our program is funded with our tax dollars.
And when we're talking site restoration, let's explain what that is. That means elimination of cataracts or things like
It's usually
that.
some kind of surgery, injections into the eyes.
Ooh, that
scary
sounds
to some
icky.
people. But it's medical professionals who help us to help the clients
Okay.
have
I
restored
wanted to
vision.
kind of clarify what we were talking about. Okay.
Right, right. And so the doctors are the ones that usually refer the people to us. And then we go through an eligibility process, which is they have to be a resident of Idaho for 6 months. That's not
Okay.
really too long.
Okay.
A U.S. citizen. There has to be financial need. And believe me, there is a lot of financial need. And we do a very simple cost share program that shows what their income is, how much they actually have coming in. We itemize with them what they have going out on a monthly basis, and then we check to see if there's anything left over that maybe they could use, and lots of times there isn't. There just is not.
Okay.
And the third one is we have to, in the opinion of 2 eye doctors, have that this person is either legally blind or will be legally blind within 24 months if they don't have some kind of surgery or
Okay.
intervention.
Okay.
And so we work with a lot of people who have cataracts, and we usually get the first cataract done and then shortly thereafter the second one done within a matter of weeks or months. We have a lot of people that have glaucoma and need eye drops. Glaucoma is the extreme pressure in your eyes, and if that's left unchecked, it can cause you to lose your peripheral vision. And once in a while we have somebody that has a detached retina. Sometimes that happens spontaneously, sometimes it's due to an accident. Sometimes we get people that might have a foreign object in their eye that they need surgery for. So all of these things come to us, and then we go through the process of making them eligible. We do a little plan with them, and then we set up the actual treatment with the doctors. And we have worked with, of course, our doctors here, and we have worked with the doctors in Spokane. Very, very good doctors. Lots of times when they need a retinal specialist, they will go to Spokane.
Let me ask you, because you're saying that these are people that financially would not be able to afford to have these surgeries and that sort of thing. If someone is on Medicaid, would they still qualify for this, or would Medicaid pick up?
Medicaid would pick it up.
Okay.
And the doctors are very good to work with the clients and that, and lots of times will give, I shouldn't say this, give a reduced rate for
Okay.
clients on Medicare and Medicaid,
Oh, okay.
so
Okay.
that they are able to utilize what they have.
Okay. So if someone is on Medicaid or not on Medicaid, they could still call and ask you questions,
Yes.
and you could direct them whatever direction. So there really is, if you've got a problem with your eyesight that can be corrected, there really is no reason why it shouldn't be fixed.
If we can make them eligible, then we will try to help them get that fixed. We are on a budget, and unfortunately, toward the end of the year, we're losing our funding, and sometimes we have to do a waiting list and pop people into the next year.
But you might as well get on the list, otherwise it'll never happen.
You bet. You bet.
Do you have an age limit so far as older?
We do not. We do not. Some of our, I've worked with older people, people in their 80s. No, there is not an
Okay,
age
because I
limit.
was going to say, you know, do they have an age limit, whereas you're 90 years old, well, forget it, we're not going to do that because you're, you know,
No,
your lifespan
no,
is not, okay.
no. If they are younger, if they're working, of course, we kind of try to prioritize those because we want them to be able to get back into the workforce and move on with their lives and earn their livelihood. So,
And there is a $5,000 lifetime cap as far as what services Mary can provide
Okay.
per individual.
Okay.
Yeah.
I do not know. How much does it cost for a cataract operation?
with the rates that our doctors usually give us here in Coeur d'Alene, we can usually get both cataracts done for that $5,000
Oh,
limit.
okay. Okay.
That's a wonderful thing, because normally if you're going in for cataract surgery, it's going to be $5,000 for one.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. I thought, well, that would be about for one, and if you were talking about two, how could you do that? But
Yeah.
okay.
And then another service that we are working with quite a bit is diabetic retinopathy. We seem to have more and more of us that are becoming diabetic, and of course that affects a lot of people's vision.
Mm-hmm.
And so they are working with injections to stop the bleeding. Sometimes they have to do laser. Sometimes they have to do something called a trabeculotomy to take the bleeding out of the eye. So, but the best thing that anyone can do that is having diabetic retinopathy is try to control their diabetes. And that includes your exercise and your diet and your medications, meeting with your physician.
Yeah, we had Bree with the Kootenai Diabetes Center out of Kootenai Medical Center, and we talked about the eyes and how it affects it. So when you were saying it, I I thought, yeah, I remember we talked about that. And when you were talking about the
Neuropathy.
neuropathy in the hands, I thought, I remember talking about that too, you know.
And you can get neuropathy of the feet too. And,
Yeah.
So it's a very insidious disease that you want to try and stay on top of if you can.
Well, I know your office can do so many things for folks who are losing or have lost their vision. What would you want to say to the folks out there to encourage them to check into all of this? Because every time I talk to you all, I find out something new. Like for the diabetes, I thought, oh, yeah, I remember that. If someone is losing or has lost their vision, what would you say to them?
You know, I see so many people that have waited and struggled for such a long time thinking, I'm not that bad, I don't really need any help. And by the time they get to me, you know, yes, we can do a lot of training and we can provide some adaptive aids, but we could have made their life so much better and given them independence so much sooner and reduce that frustration level. So I would say, don't hold off and say, I'm not that bad.
Oh, I
or
can do
I'm not
this,
that
yeah.
frustrated, or I can do this.
Or they can't help me. I'm
Or-
just going blind.
Right, or they can't help me, or I can't afford it. Our services are free, you know, we're always there to help. And I would say if you're having a hard time reading the newspaper, give us a call, because we can help with a magnifier that will make that easier. And there's a good chance you're probably leaning on top of your stove with a flashlight trying to see the 350 on the oven.
Oh, my goodness.
So, you know, don't struggle. You know, come on in, let us help you. You know, we're open Monday through Friday from 8 to 5. And I just like people to call and make an appointment, because we have so many clients. We do most of our training in the home, because that's where the person is functioning day to day. And that I'm in and out of the office a lot. Sherry's in and out a lot. Mary's helping people. So we always say, give us a call, you know, make
Right.
an appointment and guarantee that we can be there when you come in and we can help you and get you going.
And it's you three that handle the 5 northern counties.
Yes.
Correct.
Are you in certain counties on certain days, or does it just depend on the appointments that you make?
No, I'm usually in Sandpoint like twice a month. I go to Silver Valley twice a month. I'm all over Coeur d'Alene and Hayden and Rathdrum and Spirit Lake and all
Bonners
of that. Bonners Ferry, Worley, St. Mary's,
Moyer Springs.
Moyer Springs,
All over.
everywhere. But it really just depends on how many clients I have in each area, as far as how many days I need to go there, and the days really just depend on the schedule. I do say that I try to get new people that don't have any help. I try to get them in as soon as possible, because they're in the biggest crisis. And then once I get them up and going, you know, then I focus on the next new person and the people that are going to work. And I try to see everybody and then start over. So be patient, but, you know, definitely call and let us help you.
Well, and don't hesitate. I think
Don't
it's a good
hesitate.
point that you made. You know, don't think, well, I can get by, or I really don't need to read the newspaper, or if you can't see or you're having difficulty, there is help out there.
Yes.
Right, right.
Yes.
And you know, something I'd like to say for family members too is macular degeneration does not make you, quote, look blind.
No, you
Okay?
can't tell.
Yes. Your eyes look perfectly normal.
Mhm.
And with macular degeneration, you can't see a face very well and you can't read print very well, but you can see a speck of fuzz on the carpet. And for a lot of family, they're like, Mom says she can't see, but she can see that. So I think she's just wanting attention, or
You-
she's blowing this out of proportion.
You know, my aunt did the same thing. My aunt had macular degeneration, and
Uh-huh.
you'd be sitting there with her, and she'd go, "Get that fly." And we're going, "What fly? What are you talking about?" And there'd be a fly in the room.
Exactly.
And we'd go, "Yeah, right, you can't see."
Exactly. And
I feel
that-
guilty. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
We have a gal in the office just very recently, and Michelle has some charts in her room on what people with these different eye diseases can see. And she's looking at the one for macular degeneration, which is, you know, your middle vision here is just gone. And she says, "Oh, that's what she sees and doesn't see."
Exactly. The thing is with macular, it affects your central vision, your detail. but you usually have your peripheral vision. So you can't see things up close, but you can see things with the peripheral at a distance. So for family members that are confused, with loved ones that say, I can't read this, but they can see that fly or that speck
Uh-huh.
of lint on the carpet, it's true. They're using a different part of their vision. So by all means, be supportive, get them in to see us, let us see what we can do to help them to be more independent and lessen that frustration.
And
Well-
that's another thing that's important too, because the sooner you can teach a person how to start using what they have left, the more capable they will become with it.
And the more comfortable
Absolutely.
they will be.
Yes.
Now, if someone wanted to get a hold of you, how would they do that?
They would just give us a call. Our number's 208-769-1411. And like I said, we're open Monday through Friday from 8 to 5. We're closed on major holidays because we are a state office. But we have an answering machine, and you can leave a message for Michelle, Mary, or Sherry. And as soon as we're in, we will make sure and give you a call back.
Well, I love talking to you ladies because you just have so much information and there's such a need in our community. And I really appreciate what you do. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much
Connie.
for having us.
Thank you.
And you've been listening to the Senior Moment. Stay warm out there, and you all have a wonderful rest of your weekend.